The band's first attempt at an album had the critics at Rolling Stone howling. Outright failure. None of the four vocals get a passing grade. Today, on Under the Classic Rock, we take a look at the coming age of Toto. The Rolling Stone outright failure description came from the fact that Toto was nothing more than LA studio players trying to make a go out of it on their own. In 1976, a drummer and keyboardist from Van Nuys, California, wanted to take the band from Boz Scaggs' Silk Degrees million seller and make it their own. After the success of working with Boz, Steely Dan, Seals and Crofts, and a host of other successful acts, Steve Porcaro and David Paich wanted a band of their own. The band was made up of mostly high school buddies that played together in a group called Still Life at Grant High School in Van Nuys, California. Now, the original Toto was Steve Lukather on guitar, David Paich keyboards, Steve Porcaro drums, brother Steve Porcaro on another set of keyboards, David Hungate-Bass, and Bobby Kimball-lead vocals. The session players cut back on their studio gigs and put more time in rehearsing the band. David Paich, who had co-written a lot of the songs on Boz Scaggs' Silk Degrees, started writing songs for this new band. The first album, simply called Toto, kicked off with both Hold the Line and Georgie Porgy making it on the turntables of radio stations all over the U.S. Now, because Paich and Porcaro were studio veterans, they were able to secure contracts with Columbia Records quite quickly, thus giving them a head start on the bands that would just be coming out of their basements and garages and trying to make a go at it. And despite Rolling Stone magazine's review of the first Toto album, the band started to rack up Grammy nominations. Hey! By the year 2000, the band was nominated for 10 Grammys, winning 6. Every album the band released, they were exploring new musical directions. Some were hits, some were not big sellers. The band's second album, Hydra, had the hit. The third album, Turn Back in 1981, had a rougher guitar-oriented sound to it and did not generate any big-time top 40 hits. The band's fourth album, in 1982, would make up for it. Toto 4 kicked off the most successful couple years for the band and a bunch of those Grammy wins.
All I wanna do when I wake up in the morning is see you live. Rosanna, Rosanna.
When it came time to the tour supporting Toto 4, bass player David Hungate left the band to stay with his growing new family. The band needed a bass player quickly. Well, they dug deeper into the Porcaro musical family and pulled in a third Porcaro brother, Mike Porcaro. He joined Toto and picked up those bass lines. Mike was also a veteran LA studio guy. It took 2 years to get the next Toto album out because studio projects for the rhythm section just were racking up. They were called again to play on albums for Steely Dan, Don Henley, even on Michael Jackson's Thriller. By the time the album Isolation came out in 1984, singer Bobby Kimball had left. From the mid-1980s to this day, Toto drifted back and forth into the studio to cut new albums. Members drifted in and out of the band. And tragedy struck twice. First, in 1992, drummer Steve Porcaro died from a mixture of cleaners and pesticides that he was using to clean his home, and that caused a heart attack that killed him. And bass player brother Mike Porcaro died in 2015 from complications of ALS. 14 studio albums have been produced. Original members floated in and out of the band to produce many live albums and DVD sets. Toto is still out playing as of 2017. Some true and false before we finish walking Toto. True, Toto was named after the dog from the movie Wizard of Oz. Seems that Steve Porcaro needed a name to put on a demo tape so it wasn't confused with other tapes hanging around the studio, and the name Toto popped into his head because he had just watched the movie Wizard of Oz. And false, Steve Porcaro did not die of a drug overdose. It was widely reported that his death was due to heavy cocaine use, it was because mixing pesticides that he died. You can hear and download Under the Classic Rock on iTunes, SoundCloud, Stitcher, Google Play, Player FM, and on iHeartRadio. I do appreciate it. If you have some suggestions for upcoming shows, comments, you can reach me at undertcr@gmail.com. And thanks again for listening and downloading Under the Classic Rock, and we'll talk to you next time.